Hi everybody. I hope you're doing well. What a beautiful day it is. The sun's out, snow's all sparkly. So I hope you're able to get some fresh air and enjoy how it is outside today. The book I chose for today is The Hat, and it is also by Jan Brett, who wrote and illustrated it. And what I'd like you to think about today is how to compare this story to the story that we did yesterday, because they are very similar. That's another word that we talked about yesterday, meaning there are lots of things that are alike or the same in the stories, and there are more things that are different. So when you're thinking about how to compare the two, looking at things that are the same and looking at things that are different, I want you to think about these two particular stories together, the hat and the mitten. And when you think about specific things to compare, think about things like the setting, where the story takes place, where the story happens, and ask yourself whether that is a similar setting, whether it's the same, or whether they're totally different. And you can also think about the characters. The animals count as characters in both stories, and so do the people. So you can think to yourself, are the characters the same or are they different? And all of those things, when you compare and think about stories and think about what happens in stories, where they happen, what happens first in a story at the beginning, what happens next in the middle, and what happens at the end of a story, all of those things actually help you to become a better reader, because they help you to do something called comprehend what you're reading, which means that you understand. Not only do you know how to read the words, but you also know how to understand the story, which is, of course, is the most important part, because that's where the joy from stories comes, is when you understand what's happening and you get kind of sucked into it, and it becomes something that you really like to do. So this is The Hat by Jan Brett. Title page, The Hat, Jan Brett. And the dedication page, for Sarah and Josh Carty. Winter was on the way. Lisa took her woolen clothes out of the chest and carried them outside. She was hanging them up in the fresh air when a strong wind blew one of her stockings off the line. So in this side picture, there's a laundry basket, all of her clothes that she's taken out for the winter, and a hedgehog. Curious, Hedgie found it and poked his nose in. When he pulled it out, the stocking was stuck on his prickles. How embarrassing, Hedgie thought. There's Lisa with her basket, Hedgie climbing into the stocking, and then a rooster. The mother hen came with her chicks. Cackle, cackle, she clucked and laughed. What's that on your head, Hedgie? Why, it's my new hat, he told her. Isn't it beautiful? The mother hen cocked her head as if she had an idea, and off she ran. Now, I just made a mistake while I was reading. I don't know if you noticed, but when I looked at the picture before I heard the words in the story, I thought that it was a rooster. And then I read the words and they told me it was a mother hen. So that's one of the things that you do when you're a good reader, is you check what you understand by looking at the pictures against what you understand when you're reading, because the most information will come from the words that you read. And good readers also use pictures to help them understand and help them build their comprehension. But ultimately, when you're trying to figure out what the meaning of a story is, the most meaning is going to come from the words. So in that case, I looked at a picture and thought that it was a rooster. Then I read the words and it told me it was a mother hen. So that's a really important skill for you to do. Make sure that when you read the words, you adjust your understanding based on what the words say. So you kind of pay attention to what you're reading so you understand. Here's Lisa inside making a fire. Mother hen and her chicks. And Hedgie wearing what he calls his new hat. I think when I'm reading this that Hedgie is actually just a little embarrassed that it's stuck on his head. So he's making up that he just purposely made it a hat. It's not really on purpose. He just can't get it off. It's stuck. Hedgie saw the noisy gander looking down at him. A gander is a male goose. Honk, honk, ho, 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 the gander laughed. Look at that! The hedgehog has flipped his gizzard. That just means he's going crazy. Laugh today, gander, but tomorrow, when it rains, my hat will keep me dry, said Hedgie. The gander thought for a moment, and off he ran. There's Lisa inside her house, working on a project. The gander laughing at Hedgie's hat, and a cat. The barn cat was watching from a tree as Hedgie tugged at the stocking. Meow, he called down. What a silly looking hedgehog you are with that thing on your head. But my ears will be warm in a snowstorm, said Hedgie. Huh, purred the cat. And off he ran. Lisa inside. And another character coming along. The farm dog and her puppies found Hedgie in a patch of brambles. Hedgie, is that a hat you're wearing? How funny you look, she barked, and her puppies yelped and giggled. But I'll be cozy and dry when it snows, Hedgie said. The farm dog's ears perked up, and off she ran. Lisa inside, getting her skis ready for the winter. Farm dog and her puppies. And a pig. One of the words on that page that you might not have heard before is bramble. And that word just describes where Hedgie is at this point. Hedgie's inside. Lots and lots of the bushes where we live look like this in the winter. They lose all of their leaves. If they're flowering plants, they lose their flowers. And what's left are what looks like sticks. And they don't even look alive, but they are. And when the spring comes, they grow little tiny blossoms that open up and turn into leaves or flowers. And that's what a bramble is. It's just kind of it's a bush, and it actually has lots of stickers on it. And in the winter, it doesn't look like it's alive, but it is. It's just almost hibernating like an animal would do. It just shuts everything down, loses all of its leaves, and just waits patiently until it warms up, and then it starts to blossom again. Oink, oink, the piglet squealed. What are you up to, Hedgie? The mama pig asked. Making sure my hat doesn't fall off in an icy wind. I see, said the mama pig, and off she ran. There's Lisa reading a book. Pigs and piglets, and a horse. Hedgie, what is that ridiculous thing on your head? The pony snorted at Hedgie. That was the last straw. So I'm going to stop there for a second and talk about that term, last straw. So you might hear people say, oh, that is the straw that broke the camel's back. Well, what that means is that if there were a camel that was loaded up with a whole lot of stuff, and someone put a last something on it, like a straw, and then that was just too much for the camel to hold anymore, and it broke the camel, that's what that last straw means. It means that Hedgie is done with people asking questions, not people, characters, done with characters asking questions, done with feeling like she's being made fun of, and so it's just the last straw. Another example of that term, last straw, would be in The Mitten yesterday, when that tiny, tiny mouse climbs onto the bear's nose. That is the last straw. They can't fit another single animal in that mitten. So the last straw is just a way to say it is the very last thing that can happen. It is the most that something can take. So in this case, Hedgie's just done. Too much, too much. It's my hat, of course, says Hedgie. Don't you know? Everyone should wear a hat in winter. When it's cold and snowy, that's what keeps you warm, Hedgie shouted. The pony looked startled. Hedgie was usually so friendly. So off he ran. Lisa's looking outside to check on her laundry that she hung up to air out for the winter. Hedgie just wanted to be alone. He was tired of everyone laughing at him, and with this thing on his head, he wouldn't even fit in his den. Lisa's going outside to check on things. There goes Hedgie trying to find a place to be alone. He didn't see Lisa running after him, the other stocking in her hand. Come back, you silly hedgehog, she called. Oh no, Hedgie thought. Even the girl is laughing at me. Now here you'll notice Mother Hen is doing something. Lisa's chasing Hedgie with the other stocking. And the gander's got something going on there as well. You might not know what yet, but you're about to find out. Oh, another hint. Look at the top of the illustration. What happened to all of those winter clothes that Lisa had hung up on the line to air out? Where did they go? Think about that. Make a little prediction about what you think might happen next. Lisa caught up and pulled her stocking off of Hedgie's head. You ridiculous little hedgehog, she said. Don't you know animals don't wear clothes? On this side, there's the cat. Looks like the cat might be holding a scarf. And that side, there's the farm dog. Farm dog's got something as well, maybe a sweater. Hedgie headed for his den, and Lisa started back toward the clothesline. That's when she saw all of her missing woolens. Woolens is a word to describe her winter clothes because they're made out of wool, and wool's a super warm material. Pig's got something. Lisa's walking back to her empty clothesline. And the horse has something too, but we can't really tell what it is yet. The animals had taken every piece of her winter clothing, and each one was thinking, now I'm wearing a magnificent hat. So look closely at every animal and every piece of clothing that they took off the clothesline to wear on their own heads. And there's Hedgie in both side illustrations with no more hat on. Lisa was still chasing them when Hedgie reached his den. How ridiculous they look. Don't they know? Animals should never wear clothes, Hedgie thought. So here's Hedgie going into his den, and Lisa chasing all of the animals who took her winter clothes. So I think it's interesting when I think about that story as I'm reading it. All of the animals appear to be making fun of Hedgie when they see his hat, but every one of them, after they laugh or make a comment, say something to him that makes him feel like they're making fun of him, every one of them thinks, and then off they run. And who knew? Did you predict? Did you guess that they were going and getting all of those winter clothes to do exactly what Hedgie had done? It's a funny thing that all of the animals did the same thing and had the same thoughts. So compare the two. Think about what you know about the mitten and what you know about the hat now, and think about things that are the same and things that are different. And I will see you tomorrow.